Welcome to the Heroic Investing Show. As first responders, we risk our lives every day. Our financial security is under attack. Our pensions are in a state of emergency. A single on-duty incident can alter or erase our earning potential instantly and forever. We are the heroes of society. We are self-reliant and we need to take care of our own financial future. The Heroic Investing Show is our toolkit of business and investing tactics on our mission to financial freedom.
Welcome to the Heroic Investing Show, a podcast for first responders, members of the military, veterans, and anyone looking to improve their financial future and gain some freedom with their time. We teach America's heroes how to build passive income, build their startup business, and safely grow wealth through real estate and other alternative investments. We help current and prior first responders put protections, systems, and a team in place to help them build a life where they can focus on their passion, that service or product that they are uniquely gifted to share with others, making the world a better place for all of us. My name is Gary Pinkerton, and I co-host this show with Jason Hartman. Well, Heroic Investors, welcome back. This is Heroic Investing 224, episode 224. And today, sometimes I kind of focus heavily on the military, and I try to make sure that I'm giving equal weighting, equal play time to first responders, police officers, firefighters, and EMTs. Well, today we get both, because we have with us Larry Hardin, and Larry has a majority of his time, over 30 years of law enforcement experience, retired from government service after 24 years with the Department of Justice as a senior special agent with the DEA. He served Immigration and Naturalization Services, or the INS as you know it, as an adjudicator officer, that's hard for me to say, with the Federal Bureau of Prisons and as a correctional officer. And he's got over 6 years in the military, a Marine. So he's still a Marine because they're always a Marine. And so he's author of two amazing books. His first one is Path of the Devil, which we'll probably spend quite a bit of time on. And then he's got a brand new one out called Fighting My Greatest Enemy, Myself. Larry, welcome to our show.
Hey, Gary, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And the one thing I didn't mention is that he's currently teaching criminal justice for the U.S. in Spain. So he's got a contract where he's working over in the country of Spain, and he's coming to us from Spain. Where did you say exactly you were, Larry?
It's a military base. It's called Rota, R-O-T-A, Rota Naval Station. And it's a little bit south or right next to the major city called Cadiz, C-A-D-I-Z, and south of Sevilla. Absolutely.
My very first port visit in the United States Navy was on my submarine, the Archer Fish, in Rota, Spain. And I remember it vividly because there's the Navy Exchange there, like every base has, but they have, I want to call them Yadro, I think is the name of it. They have this famous statue. Yeah, right. A statue, yeah. Right. Or not statue, but little, I guess they're statues, but they're little trinkets that you would put in your, I don't know, on a shift robe or something. And my mom wanted this special one, so I still remember having to go and find that thing. So long time, old memory. Wow. That's a 30-year-old memory almost.
Wow. They still sell them over here. A friend of mine just bought one. Yeah. Bought a flamingo dancer. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. They're beautiful. I have the one that my mother had, and it's gorgeous. Anyway, so if you're ever over there, pick one up, I guess. So Larry, tell if you would kind of start out your career, how you ended up in your 30-year career of law enforcement, and then let's dive into your first book.
Yeah, quickly, just my background. It's amazing how time will go by so fast. When you mentioned the Marines, I was in the Navy, but I had a chance to go over to the Marine Corps, went to Camp Geiger, and serving with the Marines or been hanging out with the Marines for a long time. I realized that I just love the way of life, how they take care of each other, support each other, and specialize in weapons, defending our country, defending each other, and they work as a team very closely. And but I had to prove myself. I had to fit in, and I went to a fourth phase. It's not boot camp, but it's worse than Navy boot camp. It's Marine Corps fourth phase, which is it's advanced school. And after I made that, I decided to look into law enforcement, and I just got lucky. After I got out, I applied for several jobs, and the one I really got blessed with was with DEA, drug enforcement, to work narcotics, strictly narcotics. Of course, other cases if they develop, but it was strictly DEA narcotics, and I spent almost 24 years with them. And from there, I went south. I spent a lot of time down in Mexico, across the border, over 6.5 years, and 3 years, almost 3 years, not quite 3 years in Colombia, Bogota, and of course, the rest of that was back home. Back home when I'm talking about the United States.
Yeah, and a lot of your first book, Path to the Devil, Path of the Devil, right? Is about your time in Mexico and some of the cases you worked on there and down in South America, right?
You know, when you the Path of the Devil, just give a little history of it really quick. It was my job. That's what taxpayers, that's what people had me to do, to chase down bad guys or try to find the bad guys that push narcotics into the United States. And I worked with a lot of agencies, different agencies. And it was several years ago, two private investigators, great people that I got to know throughout the years, but they were assigned to work with me, or not assigned to me, but work with me, and providing information about certain groups of individuals down in Mexico that were using the Maquiladora furniture company. And it's just one of many cases, but I got involved with that, developed some great informants, and it took me a few years to get into that organization across the border in Mexico. And one day when I was coming back from the border, this is San Luis, Arizona, I was heading back towards Yuma to our office, and there's a jagged mountain. When I say jagged, it was just a rough edges to the top of the mountain that was coming out of Mexico into Arizona. And I asked a Border Patrol agent that was with me, I said, what's the name of that mountain there? And he said the Spanish priests, many years ago when they were going into California, they call that the path of the Camino Diablo, and that is the name of it. It's Camino Diablo, which means in English, path of the devil. And that was the Spanish priest that gave that. And so it was my operation. We call it the Path of the Devil operation. And that's what I focused my attention on, these brothers, primarily for what they try to do to friends of mine, to DEA
Sure.
agents,
Yeah,
and so on.
And there was a bit of it took some turns there at the end, right? And essentially, you weren't able to, I guess I would say, achieve justice in the end, with a little bit of influence or involvement that steered you away.
Oh, absolutely. From the beginning, I knew how to work these kind of cases, and you always have to be careful of corruption. That's just the way it is. To me, it's when you go down south across the border, that's just the way of life when you hear corruption. We always focus on outside the country. But my primary problem was not there. It was in the United States. I worked with some great people, but there was always that corruption there. We had two friends, Lieutenant Danny Elkins, I have to mention his name. He was killed, and Mike Crowe. Both were on the task force, Southwest Task Force. They were killed by another corrupted cop, deputy sheriff, and he was assigned. Richie Foss, another great DEA agent, was killed working undercover up in Phoenix. This organization was kind of tied in with the Kiki Camerena case, and so I had a good case, like other good cases, but this case here with these two PIs, Jeff Pearce and Randy Torgerson, and also some good informants. We went after these guys, but now the problem, once again, I was dealing with corruption, and I try to stay away from that, because you do not want to get, as a police officer or an agent, you do not want to get involved with any kind of corruption. When I say any kind of corruption, in other words, targeting corrupted law enforcement cops. But I just happened to start doing that, especially at the port of entries, which is the gateway that comes into our United States from the port of entries. It was so much corruption, and I identified the corruption. I tried to push it through Assistant U.S. Attorney's Office. The book lays it out. That's why the DEA, D.C., they did not approve the book or disapprove, but it's a true story. And of all the reviews, right? I mean, Gary, of all the reviews I got, and I don't look at reviews, but I was told to look at them. They've all been 5 stars. That's great. But there was one that came back and gave me a 3. And I'm thinking, why is everybody giving me great stars? But yeah, this guy turned out to be, he's out of Yuma, Arizona. Barnes & Noble in Yuma, Arizona, they were happy that we didn't come out there to do a book signing because people know that mountain very well. It's extremely very dangerous mountain.
Wow. Gosh, so really, it just came to a stop, right? People have not been held accountable. The ring kind of continues, right?
That is, they've been. When you read, I hope you get a chance to read the book.
Yeah.
That way you'll have a more insight exactly what I was dealing with. It wasn't the bad guys. The bad guys, people say, are you afraid because the names are in the book? No, I'm not. They're old guys now. They're probably up in their ages. Their families are, without a doubt, they're lawyers in our country. They're entrenched in our way of life here as a culture. And I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the corrupted cops anymore, because I just don't worry about it. The thing I do fear more than anything else is the two PIs. I'm DEA, even though I might be retired from DEA, but I'm still part of the family, and I still have my retired credentials. I'm allowed to carry, of course, not in Spain or outside the country anymore, but I'm allowed to carry in the United States, and so I don't worry about that. I'm just glad that, I'm just glad people are reading the book because they're seeing exactly what we deal with day in and day out on the border. The president, the commander-in-chief, I sent him a book several months ago, and he gave me a reply. You could take it either way, but I'm going to tell you the truth here. He has done, I've never seen so much happen at the border since he became the commander-in-chief, became our president. I'm not pulling your leg, or pulling anybody's leg. He is really trying so hard. And California, I'm just getting carried away here, but I've seen a lot of it at the port of entries. I've been down there. I spent 6.5 years at that port of entries, and I've seen exactly, they talk about the children coming across the border as we speak today. I tell a lot of people those are no longer children. They lost their childhood many years ago down in Mexico or down in the other countries of South America. We look up here. We regard life, and they do too. When I say they, I'm talking about outside the United States. But the girls, especially young girls, once they reach that cycle, once they reach that motherhood to become a woman, that's open season there. It's like sharks. It's incredible how vicious it is. Those young people, young boys and girls coming across, like I said, they're not children anymore. They're tough kids. And so I explain that in the book. I explain, a lot of people don't want to hear the truth, but the book is the truth. What I'm hoping now that some producer or somebody get hold of that book and just make a story out of it, a true story, and let the other half of the country or let the whole country know that you're hearing this from a guy that worked hard trying to put this family in jail. But it wasn't the family. The family was, when I say family, the narcotic family, they were just doing a job, giving what the Americans want. Even today, the fentanyl, we're talking 68,000 people. We focus our attention on the wars outside this country. We have a war, and we have lost that war. I'm telling you, when you take 68,000 people died of fentanyl overdoses and so on, our politicians know this, and we do have a serious problem here. I have to sit down with Senator McConnell. I have sit and look at him right in his eyes across the table, and I like this guy. But when it comes to politics, I don't understand how you can play politics with human lives, especially American lives or even people coming across.
Yeah, that's frustrating. But you're right. It's certainly worth reading that book to get a much, much better perspective, and I invite everyone to go and do that. Let's make a quick pivot here. Not necessarily a smooth pivot, but let's talk about Fighting My Greatest Enemy, Myself, your second book, or your next book.
The second book, when I've seen the results of the first book, and it's written by myself and two PIs, we add our stories together, and Diana DeMille, she's really helped us put this thing together. Also, the second book, people said, you need to write your own book. Let it be your book. And when you see the book covers, they're on Amazon, Lightenhouse, let's see, what's the other one? Inglegrams. when you see the book, you're going to see an individual standing there with a black outfit, and you see the DEA and the mask. And next to that person, you're going to see a cross, okay? And above that cross, you're going to see a dove. Mm-hmm. I explain, what happened to me, why I experienced, we talk about how evil the world is. It is truly evil, and I have seen it. I've seen it. If you're talking to a guy, I'm not a kid, I've been around, and I've seen it, and I experienced it. And then I experienced what is good. And I put that in the book. And I just want to dedicate that story, or those stories in that book, of my family or background of growing up with an outhouse. Most people probably don't know what an outhouse is. But I grew up with that. We killed our own animals. There's a story about my dog, Pepper. My dad killed my dog. He had to, because Pepper was a beautiful German Shepherd, and he tastes blood. And once you taste blood as an animal, on a farm, once you taste blood, you're no good anymore. And I asked my grandpa that one time. And throughout the years in DEA, working law enforcement, I realize, wait a minute, some of the people I meet, whether it's down in Mexico or other parts of the world, they're no different from my German Shepherd Pepper, my dog. Once they taste blood, they have no conscience of killing that person again, or taking their body apart and hang them off a tree or skin them alive like they did Kiki Camerena. If you have any kind of passion or a heart, how can you do that to another human being or a small girl? So Pepper was a lot smarter than the people I dealt with, even though my dad took my shotgun and blew his brains out because he had to, because he already tasted blood. So, I go into stories. I try to make it real as possible. People find it very humor, but yet they find it so it's part of them.
Yeah, so
anyway, that's the second book.
But on the title of the book, "Fighting My Greatest Enemy," so what were you fighting back about yourself during your career there?
You got it right there. Myself, corruption, not falling into temptation of sex. Man, when I whistle, I can whistle Dixie all day long. Beautiful women throughout the world. Sexuality was, when I was growing up, you just didn't have that. You didn't see that. You got to have a relationship with someone before you even develop that kind of relationship. But today, it's such casual. But I've been married 37 years, and people ask me, they say, well, what is the most dangerous thing that you ever encounter? Being shot at or shooting somebody or whatever. I said, look, the thing that I had to deal with is being faithful to my wife. And a lot of people they get shocked with that. And I said, it is the truth. It's remaining faithful in your marriage. Because, you can cheat on your spouse or your other or your partner. I call it wife or your husband. You can cheat on them all day long, okay? And you can get by with it. But there's one person, if you have any decency or any faith, that is the person that you're going to see someday when you close your eyes. I do believe in that. It's just the way it is.
Right.
And treat people with respect, even bad guys.
And plus, even if you don't, even if you're not someone of faith or believing in a higher power, then you at least have to admit that it's going to destroy your soul to do that, to be the one knowing it, even if no one else knows it yet.
Right. Good point.
Yeah. So, anything more we can kind of step back and look at both books. How about? You've had a long career in DEA and in law enforcement. For the young individuals that are out there starting out in their careers, or perhaps even just those that are kind of transitioning out, any advice you have for the audience?
Yes, I do. That's what when I teach, I get from the first year right up to the senior year. California, I get a lot of Camp Pilotons, guys that are already higher up in rank. And it's never too late, but it's extremely very competitive for law enforcement. DEA, whether it's DEA or FBI or CIA, any agency right now, it is so difficult, but there is a way in. And I teach that in the classroom. I teach it after break or before break, that, you got to have that education. You got to have that paper, that diploma, college, but then you got to focus on something that you can benefit that agency. And I tell them, I said, a language is so important, such as in Chinese or Japanese, especially Russian or Farsi, which is Iran. And the reason why I stress those languages, or Saudi Arabia, or the Arab language, because that's going to be our next conflict. If it's not now, it's going to be. And the agencies are always looking for someone that can be able to speak that language of that particular environment. And it does work, but at the same time, you have to have a good background, your integrity, how you treat people, how you deal with people. And I tell people, just email me, and I will try to guide them along to the right, how to go about to get a job or try to be competitive.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're offering to be able to, for individuals to reach out and be mentored a little bit, or at least provide some advice. Can you, so we already talked about where your books are available. And again, I reinforced that individuals should reach out if they felt at all inspired by the conversation that we had about, the background of the books and the content. I think they would really, really enjoy it. Can you please pass out just your contact information, since you're offering kind of an email feedback?
Yeah, it's in the book. In other words, I have to be careful. There's only one person that they let me talk to, and I had to talk to him, and it was a Vietnam veteran. He read the book. He was trying to get in touch with me, but I had to go through certain issues here because, you got to be careful. But I did talk to him, and it was a truly an honor to talk to the Vietnam veteran. He told me that when he read the book, to him, it was like Vietnam. He said, we lost that war in Vietnam. I said, yeah. And he said, you guys, talking to me now after he read the book, he said, you lost the drugs on war, the war on drugs. And I said, we lost a long time ago. And people say, well, what is the solution to this? How can you stop the drug trafficker? The only thing I learned, that the only way you can stop the drug trafficker of hurting, children or a way of society, is that you got to take them, and you got to. What's the word? The Catholic priest said to me one time at the old mission church. We went to visit him. He said, Agent Hardin. He said, what you should do when you catch these, line them up against a church wall. Now, this is a Catholic priest in San Diego. He said, line them up against the wall, these evil people, and shoot every one of them. Okay? And you know what? There's a lot of truth behind that. And because if there's no quick justice in our judicial system, it's not the law enforcement. You tell your community now, the law enforcement has done their job, and their hands are tied. They truly are by the judicial system and by the politics now that got involved. Most of these politics that's involved, you take them out on the streets where the cops will go or the agent that will work. They won't do it. They won't last very long. Okay?
Yeah.
But, it's the only way you can stop it. You really got to do it.
All right. So more inspiration to read the book. We can get your information, your contact information in there. And we can get a better feeling, better sense for what you just gave us there at the end. Larry, thank you so much for joining our audience. That was action-packed, and I think they'll find great value in it.
Well, please, anybody that if you want to talk to me after you read the book or whatever, please give me a call, okay? And if you like it, help me promote the book, you guys, because I really want the public, Main Street, to see this. Not for me, okay, but just to see what we were dealing with, okay?
Awesome. Right. Outstanding.
Well, nice talking to you.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Larry.
It was an honor. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.